It's Sherry Hoyman.
Hello, Sherry. The meeting will begin in a few minutes.
Thank you.
The meeting will begin shortly. Please stay on the line. All microphones will be muted until the meeting begins. The meeting will begin shortly. Please stay on the line. All microphones will be muted until the meeting begins.
This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you for joining. We are about to get started. During the meeting, if you are not speaking, please mute your microphone. If you're using a computer or mobile device, please use the microphone icon to toggle between mute and unmute. If you're calling in from a phone, please press *6 to toggle between mute and unmute. And with that, we'll turn it over to the chairperson to begin the meeting.
Thank you. My assumption is you guys can hear me out there. And if not, I would say please let me know, but that wouldn't happen. So I'm thinking everyone can. At this time, we'll call the Common Council special meeting to order. Carrie, could you read the roll, please?
Alderperson Carpenter.
Here.
Estercon.
Here.
Hanson. Hanson. Cuniger.
Here.
Ledvina.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Rash.
Here.
Rue.
Here.
Mayor Boyd.
I am here. So we'll ask about Alderperson Hanson a few more times and make a reach out to him. Item 2, Ordinance 20-10, creating Section 74-13, De Pere Municipal Code requiring face coverings. Before we get going, I will make a statement and generally give you the lay of the land as we go forward here. Again, this is a special Common Council meeting regarding the face mask mandate that I had asked for. So first, my opening statement, then we'll have a statement from a couple of the speakers, and then we'll get going from there. Over the past few weeks, it has been obvious to me that for us to move forward and get a handle on the virus and slow the spread, that we in De Pere need a mask mandate. I have been waiting for the leaders at the federal, state,
I'm listening to
county
the mayor.
level. I'm sorry? Okay, I think I'll start that again. We'd ask that people out in the audience please mute your devices at this time. We will let you know when you unmute them. Once again, over the past few weeks, it's been obvious to me that for us to move forward and get a handle on the virus and slow the spread, that we in De Pere need a mask mandate. I have been waiting for the leaders at the federal, state, and county level to step up and make some hard decisions. That has not happened. In the past week, also tired of waiting for guidance, many businesses like Starbucks, Walmart, Target, Festival, etc. have imposed mask mandates in their establishments. Costco and Menards have required masks since the beginning of the pandemic. Last Tuesday, the Green Bay City Council passed a citywide mask requirement. Before that announcement, we were already prepared to go ahead, but decided it was best to wait to see what Green Bay would decide. The resolution before you is very similar to the Green Bay ordinance. I have talked to medical professionals, our health director and health department, and city staff regarding mandating masks. But please understand, the decision to call this special session was solely mine. It is time that the local leaders step up and address this head on. I could not wait any longer. Since the announcement of the special meeting of the De Pere Common Council last Friday, I have heard from many people and businesses, both of which are overwhelmingly in favor of the mandate. The consistent message from De Pere businesses is, because many of them require their employees to wear a mask, that they also want the customers to wear masks. They want to protect both the employee and the customer. I also got the same message from the employees. The message from the residents of De Pere was pretty much the same. I am a teacher by trade. I am not an epidemiologist. I am not an infectious disease specialist. I am not a doctor. One of the qualities of an effective leader is to recognize your limitations and that it's okay to ask experts and ask for help. It is not a sign of weakness. I rely on the experts. I always have, and I always will. Even the President of the United States says that wearing a mask is your patriotic duty. In addition to the President, at last count, 34 states mandate face masks, including Illinois, Minnesota, Michigan, and Indiana. Residents of De Pere have said to me that if there is a mask mandate, they will shop again, they will dine out again, and that they will support our local businesses. We owe that to our businesses and our residents of De Pere. We need to do this for our economy. We need to do this for our local businesses, the employees, and the customers. We need to do this for the residents of De Pere. We need to do this for our schools, teachers, and the children. We need to do this for our frontline workers, the De Pere Police Department, De Pere Fire and Rescue and EMS, and the Health Department. We need to do this to slow the spread of the virus and limit the deaths related to COVID-19. We are in a pandemic. This is not a hard decision. This is not a political decision. This is just the right thing to do. We can't wait any longer. That said, I have a couple of speakers and then we'll get things going. First, I believe Dr. Brian Brees, president of St. Norbert College, is on the line. Dr. Brees, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Mayor Boyd. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, and you can give your statement at this time. Thank you.
Mayor, this is Alderperson Rash. I think it's inappropriate to have an outside person speak without opening the meeting.
Alderperson Rash?
Yeah.
I can do this. I set the meeting up. It's a special meeting of the Common Council. I will set and dictate the order. So I appreciate that.
Highly irregular.
And I'm going to move.
I've done it before, so that's why I'm asking the question and making the point.
Thank you very much, Alderperson Rash. Dr. Brees, go ahead.
Mayor Boyd and the Common Council, thank you for the privilege of sharing just a brief statement. I want to appeal to the Council and the common good. St. Norbert College, its 600 employees and nearly 2,000 students will reconvene this fall for in-person education. We've spent a better part of the summer developing a comprehensive plan to safely and responsibly bring back our students, our faculty, and our staff, and to do so safely. We have been blessed with the wonderful support and guidance by Debbie Armbruster at the Pere Public Health Department and our own director of our own health center, former director of the Public Health Department, Crystal Wohler, and our entire leadership team has been working on this plan all summer. A very important feature of this plan is a requirement for our students, faculty, and staff to wear a face covering. We believe that this is one very important piece of our plan. And I'd like to, on behalf of the St. Norbert College community, our faculty, staff, and students, as a peer and true partner with the city of Pere, a place we're proud to call home, join in support of this ordinance. And I give and pledge our full support to continue to support the city of Pere as it works to reopen businesses and schools and to do so safely. So Mayor Boyd and Common Council, I invite you to join St. Norbert College in our pursuit of the common good and support this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brees. Up next on the opening statements, the medical director for the De Pere Health Department and medical advisor to the Board of Health, Dr. Steve Stroman. Dr. Stroman, are you there?
Yes, I am, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr.
Go ahead.
Mayor, may I proceed?
Yes,
Okay,
you can go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor and members of the Common Council, I'd also like to thank you for the chance to speak with you this evening on this very important topic. I would like to point out that, again, kudos to Debbie Armbruster and our department that have been intimately involved in this pandemic, obviously, since day one. And there have been a couple of things that we've obtained guidance from the CDC, as well as following the research data as the pandemic has continued and trying to disseminate some of the trends and some of the benefits of potential treatments. And two things stand out above everything else as far as what has been successful both here, nationally, and abroad. And those two things are very simple. Number one is the use of a face covering or face mask, basically of any variety. And we've seen very different reports about the types of masks and the thickness and the filters and so forth. But what's important is any face covering at all has been shown to be successful in reducing transmission from the individuals and community spread, which we now know to be the greatest risk to all of us. And the second thing is the social distancing. So the one thing that you're addressing tonight is the masking, and we have appealed to people from, again, day one to do the right thing, to consider masking, to do it for your fellow man, as well as family, friends, and the community at large. It seems that many people have adopted that. We certainly appreciate that. And I think if you look at the numbers for the city of De Pere and even the state of Wisconsin, we have done far better than several other states that we could name. In order to improve that even further with the more recent upticks in positive testing, I think it is beneficial for everyone to be wearing a mask. I would certainly support the public health recommendation, the mayor's recommendation, and those around us who have taken upon their localities to set in place different procedures and protocols to have the masking completed. And I would certainly be willing to entertain any questions from those now or later in the meeting from the medical physician standpoint. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stroman. And our last speaker, the Health Director of the De Pere Health Department, Debbie Armbruster.
Mayor, really quick, this is Alderperson Rash again. He did ask if he'd be willing to take some questions. I only have one question, if you permit.
Yes,
That
sir.
is fine, Alderperson Rash.
So, Dr. Stroman, my question is, we talk about the effectiveness of face masks, but we've seen a real life study going on in the state of California where they implemented on June 19th and coming up on 6 weeks now, but we're still seeing a pretty significant increase. So how can you speak to the effectiveness of masks if we're seeing a real life play out in California where it doesn't seem to be working?
Some of the data that we're seeing is it's consistently confusing based on the depth of the people willing to proceed with full-time face masking versus part-time versus other environments. So in addition to the two things that I mentioned, we also know that this is a virus that thrives on being in a closed environment through recirculation of some ventilation systems, as well as close proximity and even activities where we have loud talking, singing, cheering on, so forth. So some of the data in California, you will see small studies that certainly will lend some question to the benefit of a certain type of mask or even a protocol in general. But there are some very good studies that show even any barrier at all, whether it be small enough to block a micron-sized virus or just prevent the transmission of general secretions across a room and distance, they may not completely eliminate the virus, but what they do is they substantially decrease the load that you receive or the concentration that you receive. So in spite of some studies that may show that the mask alone is not the thing that helps it, it's part of the overall strategy in the population at large to decrease the transmission from one community to another.
So just a quick follow-up. In other words, so far the mask mandate in California is inconclusive and not showing overly beneficial.
I would have to look at the particular study that you're referring to. I don't have that data or know the specifics of that. I would have to evaluate that and then give you a response.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Alderperson Rash, I think you'll be staying around for a little bit, so if there are more questions later on, you can ask them as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Up next, the Health Director of the De Pere Health Department, Debbie Armbruster.
Good evening, everyone. What I'd like to say is just a very brief summary from a Wisconsin State report from July 26th. It indicates that Wisconsin is still in the red zone for cases, which is the highest zone, indicating more than 100 new cases per 100,000 population last week, and the yellow zone for test positivity, indicating a rate between 5% to 10%. Wisconsin has seen an increase in new cases and stability in testing positivity over the past week. So that being said, the recommendations, according to this report, is to support the limiting of indoor seating at bars and restaurants, encourage mask usage, and support the local ordinances being enacted by counties and cities, consider a statewide masking mandate if cases continue to increase, and its surge in testing and contact tracing resources to neighborhood and zip codes with highest case rates, which we are monitoring. I would just say thank you to all who are here to give their opinions on this masking ordinance, and I would be happy to answer questions as time goes on. Thank you.
And I think we'll do regarding that, thank you. Any questions you have, she will be available once we get a motion in a second. So I'm just going to keep going ahead here, but Alderperson Rash and others, any questions that you do have, you'll have a chance to ask those questions as we go further in the meeting, if that's okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I only have 2 more statements, then we'll go ahead, I promise. There's a statement from Dr. Ben Villerule, Superintendent of Schools, Unified School District of De Pere, from Dr. Villerule. Based on the recommendations of the medical professionals and CDC, I support mandating masks in the city of De Pere and all the schools in Unified School District of De Pere. Masking is the #1 strategy to mitigate the spread of the virus. Statement from Green Bay Mayor Eric Genrich. From the beginning of the discussion, I have said that we are in need of consistent countywide policy regarding face coverings, which is supported by all our major private health systems. As a municipality with its own public health department, De Pere's action is critical to achieving this goal, and I'm fully supportive of what is being proposed tonight. There is much that we can continue to learn about this virus's characteristics and spread, but there is mounting evidence and near consensus surrounding the benefits of universal face covering. This is a simple, relatively unobtrusive step that almost all of us can take to keep our community safe. I ask you to join the City of Green Bay in requiring face coverings in indoor public spaces. At this time, then, those are the speakers that I had lined up and the statements from those who wanted me to read those statements. So that now moves us to item 3 on the agenda. Item 3, resolution 20- number 2 is just stating out what I'm saying for 3. So item 3 right now will state the resolution, and then we can have a motion in a second. I think it's kind of the same thing. What's that?
Mayor, I'm looking at the agenda on the screen that's shared with everybody. Item number 2 is the ordinance. And at this time, I'd make a motion on that ordinance that we actually send this back to the health board for review and to come up with 2 alternative solutions that are comparable to what Brown County is looking at. At this point, we have not received data or information to help us make a really clear and concise decision. Even the statements from Dr. Stroman just a little bit ago also indicate there might be some issues with masks mandating out in California. So that would be my motion at this time.
All right. We have a motion.
This is Alderperson Rue. I'd second the motion.
We have a motion by Alderperson Rash, seconded by Alderperson Rue, to send this back to staff. I think what we'll probably do is a roll call vote. Oh, at this time, I'm sorry, is there any discussion by the alderpersons on this motion?
This is Alderperson Rash. Just for clarifying my motion, if I may.
You may go ahead.
My concern is that we're rushing this process along. And as of now, as of today, our health board has not met since May 25th. The city of Green Bay and Brown County have both at least sent this issue through their appropriate boards for recommendations and thoughts. We haven't done that yet. I think that's a step that we should be following because there are some additional options that are available. If we look at Door County, looking at an advisory recommendation, and which I believe is also something that the county is looking at. So I believe we need to flesh this out some more. I also had requested a fair amount of data and information to help with our decision-making process. None of that's been received as of yet. So at this point, that's the purpose for me making the motion to send this back to the health board for review and to come up with 2 alternative solutions for this situation.
Okay, and I'll make one correction. You are correct with Brown County, but with Green Bay, Mayor Genrich, I believe had issued a special proclamation to have the ordinance taken up at the next council meeting. It did not come through their health department. It was a proclamation by Mayor Genrich for the council to act on it at the very next council meeting. So that is not accurate. Other comments, questions, or discussions by the alderpersons?
Mayor, that's factually incorrect. It went through committee in the city of Green Bay and it did not pass on a 2-2 vote. after it failed to pass by a majority in the committee.
Oh,
Then Mayor Genrich
Alderperson
actually
Rash.
made the motion.
Alderperson Rash, they don't have a health department. They're under the guise of the Brown County Health Department. So that was clearly by Mayor Genrich. They do not have a health department. So I'm sure what you're saying is you want to parse words a little bit here. I'm sorry, this is only open for alderpersons. So we'd ask anyone else in the audience to please mute your microphone. This is strictly for the alderpersons. Does anyone else have a discussion or comment regarding the motion on the floor at this time of the alderpersons?
This is Alderperson Rue.
Alderperson Rue, go ahead.
I would echo Dean's comments. I mean, as we sit here, obviously this is a very serious matter. Nobody is taking this lightly. I think we've all been overwhelmed with emails on both sides and are looking to data to help us sort through this and how we best navigate in the now COVID world we live in. As somebody who sits on De Pere's Health Committee that I was appointed to, I haven't seen any information come out of there, any data that I can sit and evaluate to use in making this decision. I do believe that in Green Bay, this the mask ordinance that, yes, ultimately did come from Mayor Genrich, did rise up through Alderman Randy Scannell. And I think that may be what Dean was referencing. And so at this point, I strongly support sending this back, just following procedures, sending this back to the Health Committee to at least disseminate some information that we as alderpersons can all evaluate and evaluate in making our decision at this point. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alderperson Rue. Any other alderpersons like to discuss, or do you just want to vote on the motion to send it back to staff?
This is Mike Essercon.
Alderperson Essercon, go ahead.
Yeah, I would not be in favor of delaying any further. One of the things I had heard many times from people is their concerns about opening schools, and I feel this process is moving slowly enough as is that's going to jeopardize, like just kicking it on the block a little further is going to further make it difficult to open schools when that issue does come up. So I would be in favor of just moving ahead with the motions that we have on the agenda today. And they do, it seems to me, easy enough to undo them next week if we decide that further issues or information come forward.
Thank you, Alderperson Essercon. Any other alderpersons want to speak, or should we just go ahead and vote? Now, so we understand the vote is this. This is about the motion on the floor right now by Alderperson Rash, second by Alderperson Rue, to table this item and move it out and go in the future. So if you vote nay, you are voting to move this thing forward and have the discussion tonight. If you're voting in favor of it, you're voting to table it, to send it to staff. I'm sorry, to send it to staff. So we will do a roll call vote. Those in favor of tabling it, Carrie's going to do it right now. Those in favor of sending it to staff indicate by saying aye. It'll be a roll call vote. Carrie, go ahead.
Alderperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Could you repeat that, please?
Aye.
Essercon?
Sorry, nay.
Hanson? I know he was having trouble logging in.
Alderperson Hanson, are you out there?
Cuniger?
Nay.
Ledvina?
Nay.
Nelson?
Nay.
Rash?
Aye.
Rue?
Aye.
3 nays, so this fails.
4 nays, 3 ayes.
We have 4 nays, 3 ayes. The motion fails, and we are trying to reach out to Alderperson Hanson to figure out what's going on, because he should be in this meeting, obviously. So that said, that fails. We're moving forward. Item 2, Ordinance 20-10, creating Section 74-13, De Pere Municipal Code requiring face coverings. I need a motion and a second.
This is Casey. I'll move to approve.
This is Mike. I'll second.
Motion by Alderperson Nelson, seconded by Alderperson Esserkan.
Hello?
And who is this Alderperson Hanson?
Yeah, I'm on the phone with City Administrator Dilo.
Okay,
I finally
good.
figured out how to
That's great.
and a
You're in
call-
right now.
Stuff.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we now have a motion and a second on the floor. I'm not sure how you want to go ahead, Alderpersons, if you want to open the meeting to the public at this time. It's up to you right now how you want to go.
I'll move to open the I'll move to open the meeting to the public. This is Casey.
This is Shane. I'll second.
Motion by Alderperson Nelson, seconded by Alderperson Ledvina. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Sorry, opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries with, I believe, Alderperson Rash voting nay, if I had that correctly. So the speakers that are out there in the audience, here's how this is going to work. It's not easy. I'm going to try to listen for your voices. You're going to say your name. I will then identify you. When I identify you, you will give your name and address. Name and address. Now, before we go into that, I just want to tell you that speakers in open session, I will limit to 3 minutes. We will give you a 20-second warning. You can only speak once on this topic. So speakers calling in, you've got 3 minutes, so get your thoughts together. You can only speak once, so you can't chime back in afterwards, and I will give you a 20-second warning. Now, I'm also going to state our ordinances and Wisconsin open meetings laws prohibit discussion or action on any topic that was not included on the agenda for tonight's meeting. All discussion must be limited to the proposed mask ordinance. I strongly encourage anyone who wishes to speak to practice civility and not engage in personal attacks against any other individual. With that said, here we go. You can just pretty much blurt out your name, and I'll do the best I can to grab it from thin air, and then I'll identify you.
Mary Steckert.
Mary Steckert is what I heard first. Mary Steckert, can you give us your name and address, please?
Mary Steckert, 502 North Front Street in De Pere.
Thank you, Mary. You can go ahead. 3 minutes again.
Okay, Mr. Mayor and council members, I'm a retired registered nurse. I sent everybody an email so people know that I'm in support of the mask mandate. It seems that Aldermen Roosh and Rue are looking for scientific evidence, and I do have some here. Ali Makdad is on a research team that has tried to make sense of a large number of mask studies. He and his colleagues with the University of Washington's Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation did what's called a meta-analysis. Quote, you take every study that's been published on the protective effect of masks and then you reanalyze all the data, says Makdad. Their bottom line estimate, if 95% of people wear cloth masks when they're out and about interacting with other people, it reduces transmission by at least 30%. In other words, each infected person will go on to infect 30% fewer people. Makdad stresses that this is a conservative finding. It uses a lower bound within the range of estimates, and it assumes all the masks are cloth rather than surgical masks or N95 respirators, which are even more effective. Quote, widespread mask use could be even more powerful because some portion of people would likely be using those more protective versions. Yet even with a 30% reduction in transmission, the cumulative impact on a community can be massive. To understand why it helps to consider math, the coronavirus spreads exponentially. For example, let's say in a place where no one is wearing masks, each infected person is currently passing the virus to 1.03 others. This means 100 infected people will go on to infect 103 others, who in turn infect 106 others, who infect 109, and so on and so on. The result is that in, say, 7 to 5 day cycles of infection, a total of 889 people will have contracted the virus. But if you curb the transmission rate by 30%, this means that instead of infecting 1.03 others, each infected person passes the virus on to only 0.72 others. So now 100 infected people go on to infect only 72 people. These 72 go on to infect 52 people in the next cycle. By the seventh cycle, only 10 new people are infected, and only a total of 332 people have contracted the virus altogether. Essentially, instead of exponential growth, you've triggered what's called exponential decay. To see how this would translate for the entire US population, MacDod's team ran a simulation based on the pandemic's current trajectory through the United States. They forecast that by November 1st, nearly 80,000 more people will die.
20 seconds, Mary, 20 seconds.
But if Americans ramp up from their current level of mask use to 95%, 34,000 of those deaths could be avoided. So that's what I have to say. And my opinion is if we stall it, it'll only make the spread of the COVID-19 worse. And I believe in science. And I think if we don't pass it today, we need to have our heads examined. Thank you for listening, Council and Mayor. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mary. Right on. Well done. You stayed within 3 minutes. All right. Let the shouting begin.
Brian Walters.
Sherry Wyman.
Brian Walters. Brian Walters. Brian Walters, could you give us your name and address, please?
Brian Walters, 1223 Cecilia Court.
Thank you, Brian. Go ahead.
Okay, so we just talked about some stuff about like exponential growth, and that's fine, but I think we should limit what we know based upon actual data. And actual data that we have is that the city of De Pere has a 3.2% positive test rate. Dr. Rai from Prevea talked about 14-day trends and said 5%. He said ideally 3%, but being under 5% is what we're looking for. The city of De Pere is at 3.2. So we're not the city of Green Bay who's over 8% or closer to 9%. We're at 3.2%. So if we're looking to put in a mandate, that's saying that we have this huge problem that we have to impose a mandate on somebody to people to force them to wear masking in public. So is this really grounds for a mandate about what our numbers are? You know, what I would like to ask is, what's the criteria for this mandate to go away? Has this even been discussed? What are the metrics? And shouldn't such questions be answered before a mandate is imposed? I'm kind of, bothered that we have a public health board that hasn't even met since May. This is a huge, serious issue, and yet they haven't even met since May to make a recommendation, and that's the sole purpose for that board. So, I would say that the data surrounding the city of Green Bay doesn't support intervention in this way. We already have employers and businesses that are voluntarily asking for masking. And if we're going to impose a mandate, we should actually have metrics and data at our disposal that says, here's what we're going to do in terms of having to rescind the mandate. Our data in the city of De Pere, we have had 0 deaths in the city of De Pere. This is information that came directly from the city on Monday. 0 deaths in the city of De Pere. Since the beginning, 149 positive test cases, 149 total in the last 6 months, and only 17 ICU hospitalizations. This is data directly from the city of De Pere. And again, I'm not anti-science. I am all for safety, but what I'm also for is common sense measures that don't unnecessarily impose on people, especially when we're already getting a lot of voluntary masking being asked for by our public businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And by the way, I did impose a 3-minute time limit. You don't need to go 3 minutes. So make sure you guys are all aware of that. All right, what do we got next?
All right, Nancy.
I have a Kristen Lyerly, I think I heard. Kristen Lyerly?
Yes, Mayor, I am here.
Okay, Kristen, go ahead. I need your name and address, please.
Thank you so much. I'm Dr. Kristen Lyerly, and my address is 3500 Meadow Sound Drive in De Pere.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Wonderful. Thank you. Mayor Boyd and council members, I'm an obstetrician gynecologist. I'm a fellow of the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and I represent myself as a member of that organization today, as well as a physician who cares for moms, babies, and families. And I'm here to stress the importance of following the advice of medical experts and public health professionals when it comes to prevention of COVID. Right now, out of respect for the health and safety of our most vulnerable, we must wear masks. Last week, a joint letter was published. The American Academy of Family Physicians, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American College of OBGYNs, the American College of Physicians, the American Osteopathic Association, and the American Psychiatric Association all stand together to, quote, recognize the indispensable role that public health and scientific experts have in curbing the current pandemic. So in my field, the latest data suggests that pregnant women may be at increased risk for certain manifestations of severe illness due to COVID, such as ICU admission and mechanical ventilation. And I care deeply about these women, and I hear that many of you do too. As a physician and a community member, I also recognize that it is our common responsibility to protect other vulnerable populations, including the elderly and the immunocompromised. We know that 40% of coronavirus spread is by asymptomatic people, primarily by respiratory droplets. And we also know that our communities are connected. So what happens in Green Bay with their high numbers affects De Pere too. So let's talk about the science, which is evolving. You heard the data earlier with Mary, the nurse's testimony. Case studies strongly support mask use. There are no randomized control trials, which is the gold standard in research because they take time. And guys, we don't have time. There is no data in opposition to routine face mask use. And most specifically, as a surgeon, I can personally attest that wearing a mask does not decrease the amount of oxygen that you receive. So we know that if two people are wearing masks, those big droplets will be stopped by the mask, and the very small viral particles will only travel about 5 feet away from each individual. And when an infected person is not wearing a mask, those viral particles can float through the air 30 feet or more, and they stay alive for up to 30 hours. So I am asking you as a physician, a mom, and a member of your community, in solidarity with 80% of American voters, that data came out this morning, please support this ordinance. Heed social distancing, wash your hands, disinfect surfaces. Let's take care of each other, especially our most vulnerable, the elderly, immunocompromised, and pregnant moms
20 seconds.
in these unprecedented times. Thank you so much for the time to be able to share my thoughts and my deep concern for our community.
Thank you,
Linda
Kristen.
Wenzel. Angie Lamrod. Linda Wenzel.
Linda Wenzel, did I hear? Linda Wenzel, give us your name and address, please.
My name is Linda Wenzel. I live at 1161 Palomino Court.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm just here as a concerned citizen. I've listened to the healthcare professionals, and as a concerned citizen, I noticed they talked about our population here in the state of Wisconsin and cases. The thing is cases and the healthcare people, professionals, I'm sure can tell me I'm wrong or I'm right. But when you're talking cases, you're comparing cases and individuals as apples to oranges, because one person could be positive 10, 15 times, and that would be considered one case. So I think it would be more important to get your data of how many individuals versus cases, because cases could be, like I said, one individual could test positive and have to go back and get another test and then be positive. And every time that person gets a test, that's considered a case. So we're not really looking at, and most people, the average person thinks when they see the data about cases, they're thinking that's people, but it's not. That's just how many tests were run. And I think that people need to be aware of that. And where the gentleman said our positives are like 3.2%, which is below Green Bay. But I wonder how many individuals have actually been contacted with this COVID. And I've also, I work in an office, and I had last week, an office member tell me that her mother died of natural causes, but on the death certificate, it said COVID. So even those numbers are skewed. We don't even know if all these numbers are accurate. And for you to have us have to wear a mask, I have medical condition and I cannot wear a mask. I've gone out to OSHA. Mask wearing is not healthy. You can get pleurisy from wearing the mask. You're breathing in all your own infections, your own badness right back into your body. And if you wear a mask for 8 hours every day what you work, you could get yourself sick. I mean, if you can say shields.
20-second warning.
A shield would be better than a cloth mask that gets dirty and sweaty. That's not healthy. And if one of your healthcare professionals thinks that wearing a cloth mask is 100% healthy, I mean.
Thank you very much, Linda, but your time has expired. Thank you very much for calling in. All right,
Angie
next.
Lemmerand.
Whitney.
Angie Lemmerand.
Angie Lemmerand, I believe I heard.
Yes.
Did I have that correct?
Yes. Yes.
All right, you may go ahead. Give your name and address, please.
Angie Lemmerand, 1306 Rose Lane.
Thank you very much.
And I would like to thank you for the opportunity to be heard here today. And I would like to start with a quote from Dr. Dan Erickson, who's the owner of the Accelerated Urgent Care based in Bakersfield, California. And I choose this because it's supposedly a hot spot. And he tried putting this out just on Monday and was silenced by our media, saying, quote, 99.8% of people will get through this with little to no progressive or significant disease. 99.8, that's better than the common flu. Let me just say that. And then the WHO, the World Health Organization, also released a statement this year saying there is currently no, let me repeat that, no evidence that wearing a mask, whether medical or other types, by healthy persons in the wider community setting, including universal community masking, can prevent the infection with respiratory viruses, including COVID-19. That's from the WHO. They are the leading experts on this, and they're saying there's no evidence. So I feel for DePere to take this ordinance up when, as Brian has spoke earlier, our numbers are so low, is out of line. It is overreach. We need to do better than Green Bay and Appleton. We already are with our numbers, but we're not with this situation. There is no reason for us to mandate masks. If employers want them, they can have the right to choose, and leave the rest of us have the right to choose. Businesses have the right to choose just like they always have. They've always had the right to refuse service to anybody, and I support them to continue having that right. With that, they also have the right to require masks. That's fine. The rest of us still have a right to choose as DePere residents and voters. I find it disturbing that an alderperson earlier in this meeting disregarded and minimized this decision, that it could be overturned next week. That is not what I want to hear from our older people. I do not want this situation to be made light of. We need to stop spreading the fear, and we need to stop creating more social unrest. We already have enough. There is already enough problems without this one, you know, and like I said, we need to do better. We need to do better than the local communities around us, and we need to look at the data. I am disturbed, as one of the aldermen pointed out as well, that our health department not weighed in on this. And I would have been more willing to be open if I would have heard from them as well. With that, I do not support masks. I support choice. Thank you for hearing.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you very much. I did hear a name before, and I'm gonna shout it out here, but Don Meldy, are you out there? Don Meldy? All right. Who else would like to speak?
Whitney Lou.
Wendy?
Whitney.
Whitney? Whitney.
Yes.
Whitney, you're up next. So give us your full name and your address, please.
Sure. My name is Whitney Liu. My address is 425 Lilac Lane.
Thank you.
So I'm here to speak out against a mask mandate. I do not support a mask mandate. I believe it's a decision, a personal choice for people. And if you mandate masks, you're pretty much saying that we do not have common sense enough to protect ourselves. The average mask that people are wearing are cloth masks. The pore sizes ranges from 200 to 1,000 microns. The coronavirus pore is actually about 20 or 200,000 times smaller than that. So how are these masks being effective? They're not, at least not the masks that you see the common people wearing. The WHO does not support the mask mandates. They actually came out and said, just like the last caller, that there is no evidence that supports mask wearing. The CDC admittedly falsified numbers and came out and said that the numbers were false, or they messed up, or admittedly, quote, made a mistake. This lie that keeps continuing is spreading fear among the average people all along Wisconsin. People are starting fights over masks about you're not wearing a mask. People are macing people. People are getting into fights with employees over this decision. I'm saying that this tramples on our First and Fourth Amendment rights. And if this was such an emergency to slow the spread, why wasn't this mask mandate implemented 4 months ago? I keep hearing from your doctors that spoke before that this is strategy. Well, where's the science behind these strategies? I have to side with the two older persons that spoke that said that you need to send this back to the health department, because this is very disturbing that they haven't even met over a mask mandate or the science that would even promote a mask mandate. This is a personal decision. I'm not against masks, but I am against the government telling me what I need to do for my own health and for the other people. We have common sense. Whether people like to think it or not, us as citizens, we do have common sense. We know when we're sick, and masks say that you're sick. So if you're going to wear a mask, you need to stay home. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angela. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Whitney. Sorry, Whitney. Don Meldy. Don Meldy, give us your name and address, please.
Yeah, sorry guys, I was having lunch with my dinner with my wife. Don Meldy, 641 North Huron Street, De Pere.
Go ahead, Don.
Thanks for listening, guys. I'm also president of the Brown County Tavern League, and I just have a couple things to say. After doing research on this ordinance, it's pretty much verbatim as the same ordinance as Green Bay. Couple differences: the offense amount and the enforcement by the health department. With this conversation, both options have a lot of validity. It comes with a multitude of hot button topics. They're so aggressively divisive. There's no good conclusion that will result in the context of an opposing side. I don't envy you guys in your position right now. You vote for it, you're taking away somebody's basic civil right. You vote against it, you're taking away somebody's safety. Any opposition anyone has to anyone else's perspective no longer contains the rhetoric to influence a change of opinion. Instead, this topic, it metamorphosizes from debate to argumentation and ultimately vengeance. And it makes me tired. So I've taken as much of a bipartisan approach to this as possible. Within the Brown County Tavern League, I have business owners on opposite sides of the spectrum also. My goal is not to come out here with a position, regardless of my own personal beliefs. Instead, my aim is to give my members a definition of any past ordinance and answer any questions they have. If this does pass, please just listen to my perspective on the proposed ordinance as a whole. It's merely my assumption that the health department literally has no time to enforce this in businesses throughout De Pere. They're overwhelmed with contact tracing, PPE follow-up, lack of staffing. So if you're to move forward with this ordinance, consider talking with them, potentially take some of the onus off this important department within your city limits. Between business owners and law enforcement, no other department should be needed. Number two, this ordinance needs education for interpretation. And what I mean by that is I have given and will continue to make myself available to my members so they understand the ordinance in its entirety. But I hear stories of other businesses in Green Bay forcing masks on the people that cannot medically wear one and violating HIPAA guidelines by asking what their medical condition is. We have to be proactive in making sure all businesses who are deputizing and enforcing this ordinance knows the rules. I suggest a mailing to businesses with a frequently asked question sheet. I emailed this to a lot of you. requiring face coverings, a sign, and education on how to approach somebody not wearing a mask and possible interaction techniques. Finally, talk about amending the sunset provision. Cases may drop substantially while the declaration of emergency may have to remain because of other funding or medical reasons. I would suggest the ordinance be visited each subsequent city council meeting and repealed either at the termination of the declaration of emergency or by a board vote during each meeting, whichever comes first. One thing I've declared during this entire process is this: give us the rules and let us run our business so we can continue to try to save our livelihoods. It's been a hard year, and to survive, hundreds of people in our community must find a way to commerce to coexist with this health situation. I'm not just saying this for licensed establishments, bridal shops,
20
boutiques,
seconds,
salon. Whether this or anything else comes our way, at least leave us with the responsibility to act in the best nature of our friends and neighbors while remaining open to the public. Thank you for your time. Good luck on your decision this evening, guys. Take care.
Thank you very much, Don. Who would else like to speak?
Sherry Hoyman.
Sherry Hoyman, I heard your name. Sherry Hoyman, you're up next. Can you give us your name and address, please?
My name is Sherry Hoyman, and I live at 2352 Shirley Road.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I am a resident of De Pere. I'm also a pediatrician here in De Pere, and I've been here for 24 years. I also have kids in the local school. As a physician, I can tell you I've seen devastation with this virus, and there is a lot of bad that this can do. We have multiple studies that show there is widespread masking is effective in stopping the spread of COVID-19. Most of the transmission that occurs is person to person via respiratory droplet, and masks can help stop that. There is proof that the masks work. Even the cloth masks, there's proof that they work. The CDC recommends masking. The majority of COVID-19 transmission is actually silent. It can happen from people to people, a person to person who don't even have symptoms. So I could have COVID and I don't even know it. Masking protects other people. We owe it to other people to help protect them. So we want to protect those that are vulnerable. Just like Dr. Lyerly said, it's a sign of kindness and of respect to others. And it's not political, and it is absolutely not limiting freedom. We are allowing you to be free to go out into the community to do things, but masking will help to keep our businesses open and keep others healthy. I love that our percentile in De Pere is only at 3%. Let's keep it there. Let's get it lower. Let's not wait till it gets higher before we make the masking mandatory. Let's do it now so we can continue to protect those that are vulnerable. Our children, we need to protect our children. We need to protect our elderly. We need to protect our pregnant moms. So please, please don't look at this as a political thing. Please protect others. You protect me and I'll protect you. Let's all mask. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sherry. Who would else like to speak? For the second time.
This is Lindsay Dunbar. I would like to speak. Susan Netzel.
I'm sorry, Linda Netzel?
Susan Netzel.
Susan Netzel?
Yes.
Oh, I'm going to go first. I think they heard a Lindsay Dunbar. Is there a Lindsay Dunbar?
Yes, I'm here. Hi. I want to clarify a few
Lindsay
comments.
Dunbar, can you give us your name and address?
Yes, Lindsay Dunbar, 1620 Willard Terrace. Happy to be living in De Pere.
Thank you very
I
much.
want
Go
to
ahead.
clarify a few comments I heard from earlier people that the WHO, the World Health Organization, does say masks should be used as part of a comprehensive strategy of measures to suppress transmission and save lives. This is easily found on the World Health Organization website. I don't like when false rumors are being spread. I'd also like to remind everyone here that St. Norbert College, who is De Pere's largest employer, will have 1,900 students coming on August 24th to be living in and around De Pere. Our number at 3.2 or 3.4% right now is good. I'd like to see it better before we welcome that mass of students to our community. Additionally, I'd like to remind everyone that that number is low. It needs to be lower for our children to be safe to return to school. Thank you. Yielding my time.
Thank you very much, Lindsay. Who would else like to speak?
Who else would like to speak?
David Honeycutt.
David Honeycutt. Give us your name and address.
My name is David Honeycutt. I'm at 730 Nicolay in De Pere.
Thank you, David. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm a microbiologist who teaches at St. Norbert, so I've had my head in the literature on this since January when it came out. A couple of things I thought I might be able to add to the conversation. Even though the virus is very small, much of the transmission is in droplets, which are larger. So even a cloth mask that has a pore size bigger than the virus can be effective at keeping the droplets from flying very far. So a lot of the point of wearing a mask is to protect other people around you, which is important in this virus because people can be contagious before they have any symptoms. It's different than a lot of viruses we've worked with in the past. Usually people feel sick pretty quickly, and this one you can transmit the virus before you're aware that you're infected or have a fever or any of those sorts of issues. And really looking at literature for a number of months now, the pillars of containing this virus are to isolate infected people, physically distance, do a lot of hand washing, and wear masks. They're all important. None of them is a magic bullet that does everything. All of them help. I sent an email earlier, the analogy that I use is like reducing traffic fatalities, right? We have speed limit laws, we have driver's licenses, we have seatbelt laws, laws against drunk driving. All of these things are minor restrictions that together reduce traffic fatalities. So isolating, keeping a physical distance, washing your hands a lot, and wearing masks, all are proven to help reduce the spread of this virus. And so it seems to me that we want to employ all of the tools at our disposal so that we can keep the numbers low, get the numbers even lower, so that we can get back to normal as quickly as possible. So I think I will stop there and yield the rest of my time.
Thank you very much, David. Anyone else like to speak?
Jeff Ritter.
Chuck Ritter, I believe I heard.
Hi, my name
is that correct, Chuck?
Yeah, Jeff.
Jeff.
Yes, Jeff Ritter. Jeff, I'm sorry. Give us your name and address, please.
My name is Jeff Ritter, 144 Crestview Lane. I'm in the 1st District.
Thank you. Go ahead.
My former colleague, David Honeycutt, had some very good things to say. I'd like to support some of that by saying that both the Mayo Clinic and the Cleveland Clinic have reported that face masks combined with other preventive measures such as hand washing, social distancing, do help slow the spread of the virus. And there is a growing body of evidence now that cloth masks do help protect the community from the spread of the coronavirus. And with that, I'll stop. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Anyone else like to speak?
Michael Teskey.
Michael Teskey, you're up next. Give us your name and address, please.
Michael Teskey, 2654 Foxwood Court, De Pere, Wisconsin. Now,
thank you. Go
I've
ahead.
heard a lot of different stories back and forth, and I've been in the Brown County meetings and been in the Green Bay meetings, and I hear a lot of soft talk about encourage, consider, and whatnot. Now, in this ordinance, we've just talked about encouraging and considering. Now, putting faith in our community, and as adults, I'd like to act like an adult and have the respect on me that I'm going to make the best choice for my health and for someone else's health. That being said, I want to make the choice, not you, not the mayor, or yourself, mayor, or these other people. All right, we should be given the possibility of making our own choice, as it should be throughout most of our choices in our lives. Now, I've heard a lot of different supporting studies for these masks, Now, for COVID's been around since, well, they'll say since last year. Well, there's not enough time to have these proven studied studies that's going to prove without a doubt. Yes, of course, droplets are going to pass through, and those cloth masks may protect you from those droplets, but what about our eyes? Shouldn't we be wearing shields on our eyes or eye protection? Because we can get droplets in our eyeballs, right? So my point is that it's not complete. And I totally respect people who wear their masks. I totally will respect the businesses that require masks. Let us make our choice. And you know what? The last time I had somebody sneeze on me was probably when I was 5 years old, and it was my brother. All right. So that's really not, I've never seen anything like that in any of the businesses that I go to. I go to Walmart, I go to Festival. I frequent these all the time. My default setting for my entire life has been social distancing. I stay away from people, give them their own space just because I think it's polite. And I think a lot of the people in this community in De Pere will do that same thing. I think they're conscientious of other people. That's what makes De Pere, Green Bay, and Brown County a great place to live. And that's why I love living here, because I trust my fellow citizens. Now, putting this mandate on us basically tells me that you don't trust me as an educated citizen to make my own right decisions. Now, we're looking at a percentage that's 3% in De Pere, and I agree, we want to keep it low. We do have students coming back. I have college students. I've taught at NWTC for 17 years, and I've been through H1N1. I've been through the bird virus, and we were fine. We did our best. When you have the flu, what do? You're smart and you stay home. I encourage my students, stay home. I don't want you to spread it to the other students as well as myself. We wash our hands, you do all the right things. Wear your mask, but to put a mandate in there, and at 3% we're gonna mandate this, it's never gonna go away. We're never gonna get rid of this virus. So what is the bottom line sunset criteria, which I agree with one of the other speakers, I think it was Brian. What is the sunset criteria? That needs to be defined and hardened. 3% is freaking awesome. We're doing awesome to Pere. This is unnecessary. Thank you for my time, or your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Michael.
Susan Netzel.
Susan Netzel, you are up next. Give us your name and address.
Susan Netzel, 1144 Swan Road in De Pere.
Go ahead, Susan.
I have lived, first off, I want to thank you for letting me speak. I appreciate your service, all of you. You do have a tough decision, but I'm honored that you're able to hear me speak. I'm actually talking today as a resident of De Pere for over 21 years, and also as a parent and an employee of the East De Pere School District. I have 2 children in this district, and I have to say I'm for masks, but I'm anti-mask mandate. I am angry and upset that your decision tonight is going to affect all of the schools, all of the public schools. I'm not sure if you know this or not, but all of the parochial private schools in the area are going back normal school, full days a week, masks optional. And your decision tonight does not exclude schools at this point. So right now the schools are waiting to see what you decide. And here as a parent, I have no say, no legal right to give my child the right to go back to school as a prisoner of a prison, walking in with a mask, not seeing people's faces. No, I'm sorry, we have not talked tonight about the emotional scarring of wearing masks. I get that masks can help. That's great. If we can lower the spread, I'm all for that. I care about people. I do. But my children who are going to be in 7th and 10th grade, we should have a choice for them to go back to school and see people smiling. Suicide rates are up. Depression is up. Drug abuse is up. The doctors that spoke tonight did not even mention any of that. Yet they just think we can just throw masks on our kids and send them to school. My oldest son has autism, and he needs to see people's faces for communication. Why is that less important than keeping someone else safe? We need to have a choice. Our rights are violated, our liberties are violated. We need to keep it to be an option. So if you're going to mandate this and stuff it down our throats, exclude schools, exclude churches, which I know you've already done, and have a sunset clause to end this, because we are ready to go back to normal. We've got this under control. I'm waiting to see the numbers, and I'm not concerned. Now, as an employee of the school district, I cannot wait to go back to school. I will do whatever it takes. I will wear gloves, masks, you name it. I love my job, but I want to see those kids' smiling faces every day. And if you're going to have masks on them and not exclude the school systems and the public schools, I'm very upset to hear that the superintendent called you for the statement, because that is not what parents want. Parents want a choice as an option, and it needs to be done. So please consider that an option for excluding schools.
20 seconds.
And also having an end date, so we can make the choices and have our freedoms to make this choice. We are adults. Let us choose. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Who else would like to speak?
Tara Zacher.
Someone Decker, correct?
No, Tara Zacher. Can you hear me?
Tara Zacher? Kara Zacher? Did I get that right?
You did.
Tara Zacher. Tara Zacher, give us your name and address, please.
Sure. Tara Zacher, 1584 Parkhaven Road, De Pere, 54115.
Thank you.
My name is Tara Zacher, and my husband and I live in Lawrence with our 4 children who attend the West De Pere School District, which falls under the guidance of the City of De Pere Public Health Department. I attended a City of De Pere Board of Health meeting back in September of 2019 to give public comments on health freedom. During the meeting, the City of De Pere Board of Health Medical Advisor, Dr. Richard Erdman, made some horrifying and draconian comments. I will play them for you now.
Tara, I'm gonna sprayed under the ordinances of Wisconsin Open Meetings laws. Laws prohibit discussion or action on any topic that was not included on the agenda for tonight's meeting. Do you have anything to state about the proposed mask ordinance in front of us right now? You cannot bring up something from 2015, 2016. So, for the second time, do you have anything to state as a statement or an opinion about the mask ordinance and the resolution we're talking about?
I do not agree with the mask ordinance. I think it's concerning when the City of De Pere Public Health Department wants...
Again, Tara, I'm going to tell you one more time. I strongly encourage anyone who wishes to speak with civility and not engage in personal attacks against any individual. I will stand by that. I will tell you one more time, and I'll ask you very politely. Do you have something that you want to say regarding the mask mandate and or resolution? Otherwise, I will ask the moderator to take you off. You have one last chance.
I'm very confused by this. I'm trying to give my explanation for my concerns regarding this mask ordinance, and I'm not being allowed to. So
you may now go ahead if you have something to say about the mask mandate resolution. Absolutely. In front of us right now, here is your last chance.
Can I have time? Are you good now? My concerns regarding a mask mandate is, where does it end? You know, you might agree with a mask mandate currently, but just you know, it's easy to say it's just a mask today. But remember that it's easy to comply with something that you agree with. Wait until our government or medical professionals impose their will on you when it's something that you don't. What will the end result be? A fine, or will you be locked up? And I know you know what I'm talking about, because I sent an email to the entire board about my concerns on where this ends and why these policies are dangerous. No one should be perpetuating the use of scare tactics based on scaring and intimidating people. Enacting this mandate without it first being discussed at the Board of Health is reprehensible. Having a public health director suggest use of scare tactics to get citizens to comply with her health demands is
At this time, Tara, I'm going to ask that the moderator please dismiss you from the phone. Your conversation is over and your time is up. So would the moderator please take her off the phone? I believe that's been done.
Rex Jelly.
Does someone else want to speak, please?
Rex Cold Jelly.
I believe you said Brock? Rex. You know, I can't
Rex.
see right now well without my glasses. I can't hear either. So, Rex, you're up next. Can you give us your name and address, please?
Yes, Rex Cold Jelly, 136 Cavill Way, De Pere.
Thank you very much, Rex. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for allowing me to talk. I just wanted to actually concur with the last caller that you're cutting off quite a bit, that one of the main concerns that all citizens in De Pere and the City Council should be looking at is the concern of the First Amendment right and the rights of the citizens of De Pere. We can't have a tunnel vision on this single issue and allow the government to start taking away rights based on any criteria. The public safety is very important, but there is a point in time that the government will continue to take away those rights based on what they say and concerns they have, until we're at a point that we as citizens no longer have a voice in government. So I think it's important for us to recognize that an end in this mandate is very, very important, and to have it open-ended is a disservice to the citizens of De Pere and really Americans as whole. There's been many men and women that have fought for our freedoms, and we have a country that is unique in this world where we have the amount of freedoms that we do. So it's very important that we protect those freedoms and don't take them lightly. I mean, countries like Communist China, they are able to control people very well because they have not given them those freedoms that we have. So for us to take so lightly the controlling and the mandate that's about to be potentially taking place, we need to step back and not get scared, not get controlled by what's in the now, but look in the big picture of this, because there is a valid concern that what is next? What can we say is a public safety concern, and enforce and remove citizens' rights based on that? I think the council really needs to consider the repercussions of this. It's not just the single issue of the droplets and the masks right now. It's a bigger picture issue of, like one of the other callers mentioned, mental health, our kids not having the interactions that they normally have. I mean, there is some long-term damage that's going to be done by this, including kids that are not able to go to school because they can't either physically have the masks on or they're not able to mentally take it. And that's going to hurt our generation. That's out there. So there is this is a hard issue, hard question, but please do not take this as an easy out, because there are a lot of repercussions in the future that could come out of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rex. Who else wants to speak?
Justin Zacher.
I'm sorry, we didn't catch that.
Justin Zacher.
Justin Zacher.
Yes.
Justin Zacher, just so you do know, I'm assuming that you're related to Tara Zacher. I would hope that you would stay on point and talk about the face mask mandate. Go ahead, Justin.
Well, my name is Justin Zacher. My wife and I live in the town of Lawrence, and our children attend West De Pere schools. Firstly, thank you for having this meeting and allowing public comment. My comments will be brief because I'm sure others will echo what I have said. What is the ultimate goal of this ordinance? If it is to gain compliance of wearing a mask, just walk through Walmart, Festival or Menards, or any other major or minor business in De Pere. An ordinance to require something that is being widely done is an unnecessary ordinance. To me, the point here is personal responsibility. It is my responsibility to make my health and my family's a priority and do the right thing. I'll end my comments with a few questions on points that are concerning to me, and I hope you will consider them. What businesses in the city of De Pere do not have a mask requirement already for their establishment? Why has there been no emergency board of health meeting to discuss this? What are the requirements for ending this mask mandate? And lastly, what do you hope to gain by enacting this mandate? Who will best be served by this mandate? We are Americans. We stand apart because we stand up for what's right, and what's right is freedom, personal choice, and most importantly, personal responsibility. I also would like to add that my wife was treated very unprofessionally by the mayor and was strictly uncalled for. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Who else would like to speak?
Joe Gigante.
I believe we have Joe. Joe, can you
That
say
is
your
correct,
name and go ahead, say your full name and then address, and we'll let you speak.
Sure. Joe Gigante, 1420 Bellevue Street, Green Bay, 54311. I do business in De Pere and have clients there. I just want a point of clarification, if I can, before I begin. I know the medical director will answer questions. How is that handled in terms of time, in terms of being able to keep the full three?
Sorry, what we'll do is we'll take the questions down. We will not address them right now, and we'll address them afterwards. So if you have questions, pose those, and then we'll take them down, okay?
Let me give you the questions first, and then I'll give you my comments. These are for your medical director who said, and I quote, that we want to, quote, limit deaths. What is the percentage decrease in average daily deaths in Wisconsin post the safer at home order when we've been wide open with no masking mandate? What is the effectiveness of a mask that is taken on and off? For instance, when you go to a restaurant, take it off to eat and then put it back on. What is the effectiveness of a mask that is not covering your nose? What is the effectiveness of a mask that is used repeatedly without being laundered or in any way returned to its original state? So those are all important questions. I can give you a hint on the last three. The answer is zero effectiveness. As for the death rate, it has decreased 33% on the average daily deaths in the state of Wisconsin post the safer at home order. Those are according to the Department of Health Services, but I'd still love his comments on it. As to Councilmember Rash's comments earlier, he's referring to numbers out of Johns Hopkins University that after nearly 6 weeks of a mandated masking order in the entire state of California, that's a very strict masking mandate, they actually had a daily increase of positive cases by 162%. So that's just to clarify on the effectiveness of spread. I keep hearing people say that there's this body of evidence that says how effective it is, but yet I've not heard anyone actually cite any of those, the actual links or anything else to these. There are a number of studies, which I will gladly supply, that actually show that the most effectiveness of surgical masks outside of the operating room is approximately 30%. Arguably, sure, that'll cut down on people sneezing or coughing and droplets and so forth. But in terms of the effectiveness, there is no, I believe it was said it was the number one, has been shown to be number one, is what the medical director said. There is no evidence that actually leads to that. And again, I heard it stated earlier about how do you handle people, for instance, that are autistic, that can't wear it. And more importantly, is the city of De Pere ready to accept legal liability when you have a repeat of what happened in San Diego, where a couple that had masks simply took them off to eat.
20 seconds, Joe, 20 seconds.
They were maced. I would think that's liability. And I'll just finish by saying to Dr. Lyerly, it's ironic someone endorsed by Planned Parenthood for her run for assembly is wanting to take choice away from those that don't want to wish to wear a mask. Thank you.
Thank you. And I again will strongly urge anyone who wishes to speak to practice civility and not engage in personal attacks against other individuals. You were very civil, but let's leave the personal attacks out. Who else would like to speak?
Crystal Wohler. We're very civil. Crystal Wohler.
I believe, Crystal Wohler. Crystal Wohler, give us your name and address, please.
Sure, Crystal Wohler, 2123 Potter Drive, De Pere, that's the town of Lawrence. I do have 2 children in the West De Pere School District and am employed by St. Norbert College in the city limits of De Pere. So the proposed ordinance is intended to protect the health of residents and visitors of the city of De Pere. In fact, I believe we have a duty to protect the most vulnerable population in our communities by doing 3 things: wearing a mask, watching our distance, and washing our hands. Until we have a vaccine or an effective antiviral to combat COVID-19, these are the only countermeasures we have in our toolbox. These public health strategies are timeless and have been proven historically. Look at the pictures of 1918 and you will see people wearing masks. That will also help today. We have to learn from history. So I ask that you please vote in favor of the proposed masking ordinance to protect not only our students, our faculty and staff of St. Norbert College. We already have a policy, but our students, you know, our 2,000 undergraduate students are employed by City of De Pere businesses. They frequent the city's storefronts, the restaurants, and other businesses quite regularly, and consistent masking policies will make a difference. And to the point of those with special health care needs, who need to see the faces of those who are wearing face coverings. We actually just purchased cases of clear face masks that are available so that it is allowed to see the mouths and lips of the wearer of the mask, but covers the face. So those products are out there. I ask for your vote tonight in favor of the proposed masking ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. Who else would like to speak?
Bethany Martin. Broker.
I believe Stephanie?
Bethany.
Bethany. I'm sorry,
With a B.
Bethany?
Yep.
Bethany, you are up next, so give us your full name and address, please.
Okay, Bethany Martins, 400 Windy Acres Way. I would just like to share the sentiments of other people that oppose this mask mandate. I think everything they said was pretty much spot on. There is one group of individuals that I have serious concern for, and that is people that have suffered sexual abuse. If there's one thing that the Me Too movement has shown us, it's that a lot of people are walking around with severe trauma. So I'm concerned about continual trauma, being forced to wear something over their mouth and nose that could cause them severe anxiety. My other question is in regards to liability, which somebody else brought up. I know that since Wisconsin is a concealed carry state, that if a business has a sign in their window saying no firearms allowed, if somebody is assaulted or with a firearm and they have that sign, the business can be held liable and they can be sued because somebody was not allowed to carry a firearm to protect themselves. So if you are now mandating mask policies, who's going to be held liable if somebody, like someone else brought up, if somebody decides to mace somebody because they maybe medically can't wear a mask, or if somebody attacks him in another form. I believe there was a case somewhere, maybe in Florida, where somebody was even shot, which is ridiculous that we would have to be concerned about now going out in public because we maybe physically or mentally cannot wear a mask. And I know that Green Bay has given exceptions to these individuals, but it just has created such a divide when it's mandated that people are shamed in public, they're harassed if they're not wearing one. So I would seriously think about liability cause. And is that going to fall on the business owner, or is that going to fall back on you as De Pere? So that's all I have to say, and I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Bethany, thank you very much. Who else would like to speak?
Sadie Broker.
I think I heard Sadie, correct? Sadie Brooker.
That's me. Yep, Sadie Broker.
Great. Give us your name and address, please.
Sadie Broker, 2007 Bark River Court. I don't have much to say because people that have spoke before me opposing the mask ordinance have really hit on a lot of points that I just wanted to kind of revisit. But just to kind of give my last minute thoughts here, I am a small business owner in De Pere, and I come in contact with a good amount of people every day. And we have, since the beginning of the virus and introduction of the virus, always made masks completely optional to the person's comfort level. And every person that comes into our doors feels super comfortable and safe with that. Putting that decision in the person's hands has really, I think, given space for that person's personal choice, as well as respect for them as an adult or a parent or whatever. And it's been really great to kind of just respect and keep space and hold space for those people as they make these decisions. This is a really hard time, and a lot of people are struggling with the possibility of all of it. We're all worried and we're all stressed and we're all concerned. But I feel like if we can just keep the power within each individual household in regard to what they want to do and where they want to go, there's been so many, we have online shopping, we have, places and spaces that we can go if we choose to be away from public spaces, and we have masks we can wear if we feel more comfortable. But the people that don't feel more comfortable wearing masks, I feel should have that decision to make, and that's what we've used in our business, and it's been really great to respect that from people, and others respect that in our business. So I think that keeping that decision being able to be made within businesses and personal individuals is the way that I would go.
Sadie, thank you very much. Who else would like to speak?
Frank Ladowski.
I believe I heard Frank. So Frank, give us your full name and address, please.
I believe it was Grant Golodowski.
Oh, I'm sorry, Grant. I'm sorry. Grant, can you give us your name and address, please?
Grant Golodowski, 1323 Rose Lane.
Thank you.
All right, I'm also against the face mask, the mandatory face mask. I have no problem with businesses themselves making that choice for their business, but I don't think it's the government's choice to tell us what to do. It's our choice. One of my questions would be asked earlier, how long would this put in effect? Because if we put it in effect and we don't have a time limit or any certain things that have to be reached in order for it to come to an end, when does it end? Because you don't know when a vaccine is going to come or what the future holds with it. So that's one of my concerns. Another thing is with like California, they're increasing how much people are getting it. And I was just, sorry, 1 second, I gotta read. How much they're getting it, and they're essentially closed down. They're wearing face masks, mandatory face masks, all that, and they're not seeing a decrease. That was touched on earlier as well. And I know an earlier caller mentioned that face masks are 30% effective. And from going around town, going shopping, grocery shopping, all that stuff, I've noticed that around town, especially the grocery stores, it's mandatory already. In other places, people are wearing it about 70% of the people. So if it's 30% effective and 70+% of people are already wearing it, that means that this mandatory face mask thing is only going to be 9% effective. So that's not really that much to be forcing people to do it. And I also know people who have gotten COVID, and they do not get it from being in public. It's usually people who are in social gatherings or with friends. It's not out in the public where the face mask would be effective. So that itself would eliminate some of the effectiveness too. I know other people have touched on we need to protect the children. Statistically, children are not affected by this at all. They either don't have symptoms or like the death rate is like 2, 3 in a million. It's really not that much of an issue for children, even though it is a little bit, but it's less than the normal flu. So we don't do anything with the normal flu, nothing like this. So I don't think it is effective as needed for that. And I also like to point out that the majority of people who have called tonight or have voiced their opinion,
20 seconds, Grant.
At least so far, is against the mask mandate. So as you guys make this choice, this is a choice for your people. And so far, I feel I've heard that the majority of people are not in favor of it. So I ask that you listen to your citizens and vote accordingly. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Grant. Anyone else like to speak? I'm not sure why that phone's ringing, so if you guys can please mute your devices. It's hard to pick up people's names.
Dana Dilling.
Okay. Dana?
Yep.
Okay, Dana, can you give us your full name and address, please?
Yep, my name is Dana Dilling, D as in dog, I-L-L-I-N-G, and I live at 3065 Williams Grant Drive in De Pere, town of Lawrence.
Thank you.
I strongly oppose the mask mandate. I want to be clear that I'm not opposed to people wearing masks, but I'm opposed to mandating them. I hope you consider just making recommendations to the public and let the people make their own decisions. I mentioned this in my email that I sent to all of you, but I feel that it's important that the studies you're referencing in the drafted ordinance need to be disclosed, as well as the information that contradicts these studies. I think this is important because there's so much data on both sides of this issue. Mayor Boyd actually replied to my email and stated that we could go back and forth on studies all day, and he's totally right about that. But because of that, I think when you have this much conflicting data, it's just not wise to start drafting orders around it. Recommendations are one thing, but I think orders are another. And I also appreciate, I know there was a nurse early on who cited some studies and some other people who have talked about some throughout. And I think that's great that people are doing their research, but I still think the public should see specifically what this ordinance, what was looked at for this ordinance. Please also be sure to discuss the specific details of how the emergency order will end. Having no time frame and no measure doesn't really provide the public with any kind of guidance, and I think we really need that. This is a much bigger issue than just masks, as so many other people have stated. I think the pursuit of truth in this is more important than our pure acceptance. I hope you will pursue truth and ethics tonight, even if it goes against the popular opinion, because in this effort to prevent any and all death, we're killing all relevant life. Thanks for listening.
Dana, thank you very much. Who else would like to speak?
Sherry Reed.
I think I heard Carrie.
Sherry?
Sherry, you're up next, so please give us your name and address.
My name is Sherry Reef, and I am at 1639 Farland Avenue in Green Bay, but we do a lot of business in De Pere. I wasn't originally going to speak, but I feel that it's important. I wanted to reiterate something that Bethany had said in regards to sexual abuse survivors. I am a rape survivor as well as an abuse survivor, and having masks or anything, I don't even wear a scarf in the winter because I can't have anything around my face. I have severe PTSD.
Sherry, I'm just going to stop you for a second. There's something, I just can't quite hear you, so I'm not sure if you're on a different line or something, but we're not picking you up at all. So.
Okay, no, there was someone else. I think there was someone didn't have their line muted. Can you hear me better now?
Okay, I can. So yeah, in all fairness to Sherry, would everyone please mute their phones and or devices? Sherry, go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to reiterate what Bethany had said earlier about sexual abuse victims. I am a rape survivor, and I can't have anything around my face. I don't even wear a scarf, and in the winter, and just coming from that kind of background, and living in Green Bay now with our ordinance, I now carry pepper spray whenever I go grocery shopping. Because of this mandate, people have taken it upon themselves to start attacking those that can't wear masks, and they don't give a crap. It doesn't matter. And I'm so tired of hearing if we can only save one life, when the reality is it's only COVID lives that matter. It doesn't matter that other people's lives, cancer screenings, infections are getting missed, and now we're being told again that only COVID lives matter because now we're going to be forced to suffocate. One thing that I don't hear any of these doctors or nurses talking about on the news or anything is building our immune systems. All this sanitizing and mask wearing is actually killing our immune systems, and our immune system is the most important thing that we can do to prevent this, to keep us healthy, to make our recovery, if we were to get it, that much better. But we're killing our immune system with all of this. I work with holistic health, and that's the number one thing that I tell my clients. The other thing that I would like to point out is that Andrea Palm has said that the numbers that have been being given aren't accurate, and we see that with the Dane County not putting over 17,000 cases, negative cases in. Wisconsin is lower than a 2% death rate, and we're not going to save everyone. This is a virus, and I'm not anti-mask. It should be left to people's choices, because we don't know why they're not wearing a mask or why they can't be wearing a mask. My kids will faint if they have a mask on.
20 seconds.
So I just ask you to leave this to personal choice and let the businesses do their thing and have free market, and please just mandates are government overreach. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Who else would like to speak?
Paul Lubinsky.
I believe Cole?
Paul Lubinsky.
Paul. I'm sorry, Paul. Paul, go ahead. Name
Yes.
and address, please.
Yeah, Paul Lubinsky, 1698 MacArthur, and I own a business in De Pere.
Thank you.
I just wanted to reiterate the concern about this mandate and how it affects women who have been raped and abused, and as well as another topic that nobody is talking about, which is POWs who have been bound and gagged and worse. And imagine how traumatized they've been going through things like that. And you're trying to force them to wear a mask. And then trying to force our children to wear masks is also dangerous for their mental stability and physical health as well. And if the council was actually concerned about this being so urgent, as the first four setup speakers so eloquently put, and it was not at least a little part political, then you would have done this months ago, and you would also have shut down public transit in De Pere, and you would have done all this way before, when everything was taking off. And we've seen so many less deaths and hospitalizations than we did a few months ago. And there's no masking order in place. So I don't know, you can talk about how many more positive cases there are all you want, but the data shows, for all of you who've been on here talking about you love science, right? The data shows less deaths, less hospitalizations. Spin it how you want, but that's what it is. And lastly, you're setting up the city for conflict, which is clearly seen on this call already. And if you can't see that, you really should resign. I nor my kids will be wearing a mask. And frankly, I think it's disgraceful how you, the mayor, treated that woman from Lawrence earlier by putting a digital mask on her. You should be ashamed of yourself. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Paul. Anyone else like to speak?
My name is Erin Farah.
I believe I have Aaron, correct?
That's correct.
Aaron, give us your full name and address, please.
My name is Erin Farah. I'm at 255 Sumac Drive in Green Bay, but I do run a business in De Pere. And my concern is for the children wearing the mask in school. I don't think that a child from the age of 5 to probably about 9 has enough sense to keep their mask on. They're going to be trading masks. I think we're setting ourselves up for disaster and more cross-contamination wearing a mask in the classrooms. Not only that, the children need to see the teachers' faces for nonverbal communication and learn how to form letters and speak correctly by watching their teachers speak. So I think that at least in the schools that we should not mandate masks. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
Sarah.
Sarah, go ahead. Name and address, please.
Okay. My name is Sarah Deutsch, and I'm at 3010 Riviera Route in Green Bay. However, I school choice my kids to East De Pere.
Thank you.
All right. So I am very against this mask mandate. I kind of find it funny. I was driving in the car today and I heard a commercial on the radio from Prevea, and it said at the end, it was talking about COVID and all these testing sites where you can go to get tested. And then their end slogan is your health, your choice, your happiness. And at the end of the day, what you are doing is you, the government, are deciding our decisions for our health. No one is walking around telling people to lose weight, what to wear, that taking stuff out of their grocery carts because it's unhealthy for them. However, you think that for the benefit of the other people to save lives, that we're going to put a mask on. That is a complete overreach of government. It is not your decision to decide my health. That is my sole personal decision. My second problem that I have with this is we have become a tattletale society. Me personally, I've gone to Woodman's and had an avocado thrown at me because I wasn't wearing a mask. The second part of that is my husband is a local police officer, and at his department, there was a police officer that was outside putting gas in their car without a mask on, and a public citizen called the police department to tattle on the police officer for not wearing a mask. Again, where does this end? How is this going to be even enforced? People are calling on our own police officers. There is already so much discrimination and fear and problems with our police who are putting their lives in the front line for us over a mask. I again feel like it is a total overreach. I've also been watching all the crime reports that De Pere posts and Green Bay post, where they show crime happening at stores, and they want help identifying these individuals when they are wearing a hat, they are wearing sunglasses, and they are wearing a mask. Crime has gone up in our city, and you guys are just welcoming it with open arms, saying, yes, you can come because we're covering up your face. The other thing is schools, with the kids with schools, it is very detrimental. Please do not underestimate the power of parents. There was a phone call today with the De Pere school that had over 400 parents that are looking into virtually schooling their children, because we don't want to send our kids to school with masks on their face. And when a bunch of parents come together and they're going to start teaching, and we're going to all join our forces together, you will find out that we won't need the public school system anymore, and that us parents can do it better. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak? For the second time, does anyone else like to speak? For the third and final time.
I'm sorry. Whoops. Hello, can you hear me?
Sure, I can. Give me your name, please.
Oh, okay. Great, thank you. So I sent some emails to you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Slow down. I need your name and address.
Yes, my name is Heidi Anderson, and I live in central Wisconsin. And I do a lot.
I'm sorry, Heidi. You live in central Wisconsin?
No, east central Wisconsin. I don't want to give my address because I have kids, and I've been threatened.
I'm sorry, but under the ruling, we have to have your address. Our preference is to hear from people from De Pere, but okay. I need your address.
Well, I just want to. So here's what I'll say then. I'm from.
I'm sorry, you cannot speak unless I have your name and I have your address. I'll give you the second warning. I need your name and address if you'd like to speak.
Okay. Well, my name is Heidi Anderson. I think I shared that with you, right?
Sure.
So you've got that. Yep. And I will give you my address, but I think this is going to get to accountability. 3345 Nassau Drive, Brookfield, Wisconsin.
Brookfield, Wisconsin?
Yes, and I do business in your area. And I also have been a consumer in your area as well. And I just want to say thank you very much. First of all, I sent an email to many of you who got back to me, and I was so grateful for that. And thank you very much, because I know your primary concern is the voters. And I've waited to the end to say anything, because I think that, you know, I don't have a vote in your city, but I have an interest in your city. And so I appreciate you listening to me. The first thing I wanted to just share, and a lot of people have talked about the numbers and the facts. I think the facts are really important. The number one fact that I think hasn't gotten a lot of discussion, but I was so happy to hear, is that you've had 0 deaths in De Pere, which is fantastic. And yet when I think about the math, and there's a lot of smart people on this call, you've got great citizens up there, 30% of 0 is still 0. So if you use death, whether it be as your measure, your guide point, your denominator, whatever, which is really the thing we're trying to avoid, that's an important thing to be talking about, and I would encourage you to talk a little bit more about that. The other thing is, from a facts perspective, several people spoke about different studies, and yet I didn't hear anyone citing any specific ones. I did hear some today through another channel regarding masks, and so I would encourage you, and I think 2 of your alderpersons were very smart to say that additional facts would really help you make a good decision, because there's 2 things as you make this decision that I think you really are going to want to think about. And one is the impact on your community, and there's a lot of different types of impact. I will share with you for the last 3 years, and I know you've got the head of your college on the line, I've had the privilege of bringing my daughter up to a summer camp at St. Norbert's, and this is the first year that we didn't get to come. I can tell you that dance moms spend a lot of money, and we've spent a lot of money up there, and we've spent a lot in Green Bay. I've also spent a lot when I've come up on business trips. So there is certainly a loss that's already happening in your community, and that's an example of an outcome based on this. Those girls can't dance with masks on, and so they chose to go elsewhere this year. The other thing I would say, as it relates to money and the almighty dollar, we hear a lot about the impact to the businesses, and I think it's obvious that people will choose to support the businesses that
you have
that they
20
want
seconds to talk. 20 seconds.
All right. They'll choose to support them, but I think you also need to take a look at the money that's coming into your community based on some of these grants that you only get under emergency orders, and no one's talked about that. The final thing that I want to say is I think it's important that you make—
And I thank you very much. Your 3 minutes have expired, so thank you very much.
Okay, well, let me just finish to say thank you. My final point is, please don't make this decision based on fear. Make it based on hope. And we want to come to De Pere, and we want to spend our money there. We want to support you, and we care about all of you. So please make it based on hope. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak?
Hi, James Lyerly.
Anybody here?
James Lyerly?
Jim?
James.
Jay. Jay, can you give us your full name and address, please?
James Lyerly, 3500 Meadowsound Drive.
Okay, thank you.
As an 11-year-old who is also in 6th grade, who's going into 6th grade, I would like to share my opinion on everything, including this mask, and including this mask mandate. And I think that the mask mandate is a good idea because, first of all, in schools, it will protect the teachers from most of the virus. But I would just like to share that it will not entirely protect them. It is not an entire form of protection. The best form of protection is 6 feet apart. But I just really wanted to say that I really think this should happen, and it's just smarter to do this. Yep, better safe than sorry.
Thank you very much. Very courageous for an 11-year-old to call in. Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak?
Yes, please.
You have to say
Hello?
that again, please. Yep.
This is Carrie Guyette.
Carrie Guyette. Carrie Guyette, could you please state your name and address?
Certainly, Carrie Guyette, 1750 Martinwood Court.
Thank you. Go ahead, Carrie.
I would just like to add my support for the ordinance that you are considering this evening. I think anything the public has in its toolbox at this time that is recommended by the top health experts in the country, we need to use. We have no vaccine. We have no vaccine on the near horizon. As one other person stated earlier, our main tools are masks, distancing, and good hygiene. Someone else also mentioned maybe about statistics and lacking, not citing studies. And I just want to mention a study that the CDC put out, and it's been maybe a month or so, of a hair salon in Missouri, and in which 2 stylists were infected with COVID-19 and developed symptoms, but continued to see clients for a number of days. At the salon, however, patrons and employees were required to wear masks at all times. And so when all the contact tracing and follow-up was done, because when they realized 2 of their employees, stylists, had come down with COVID, they found that none of the customers had reported symptoms, none had developed illness, and all 67 who volunteered to get tested negative. I can think of no better example of what masking can do in an indoor public space. I also ask people to please look at outside of the United States, at the European countries, where many of them have mask mandates. Look at their numbers. Their case numbers have flattened and gone down, all at the time that ours are shooting up. I don't think they have a vaccine in Europe. I don't think they're necessarily smarter than we are, but they are using a big tool in their toolbox consistently. And I don't think it's any coincidence that their numbers are looking a lot better than the United States. I'm also a public school employee. I know I will be asked to wear a mask when I go back to work, and I am completely fine with that because I want to protect others and I want our children back in school. I want to be back in school. And I thank you for your time, and I thank you for putting together this ordinance, and I hope that it will pass.
Thank you very much, Carrie. Anyone else like to speak?
Yes, please, I would.
Could you say your first name, please?
Sure, it's Alicia.
Alicia? Alicia, I think is what we heard. Alicia,
Yes.
Can you give us your full name and address, please?
It's Alicia Stiles, and it's 822 Smith Street, De Pere.
Thank you.
So I have had a business in the past in De Pere, and I'm currently in the process of opening a business again in De Pere. When I left De Pere, I went to Green Bay, and what brought me back to De Pere was the energy, the people, the idea of growth, the idea of prosperity, the idea of De Pere has a sense of that American dream within it, where people come here to build their business, where they know that there's more here for some reason. And the city has offered that with the art on the walls and with the bike trails and with the way that it's handled its business up until now. And right now what's happening is people are jumping on the bandwagon, and you don't have the information to go against these people and create these legal boundaries. You're dividing the city. You're taking a beautiful, wonderful city that we have all gravitated to be away from things like this, the controversy in other places, and we feel peace here. And now you're bringing that controversy here to this beautiful city. Business owners do not want to enforce this upon their customers, and we do not have the legal right to do it. And the same way that you watch us go to the Supreme Court on all these things that happened previously, you're going to watch this happen again. People are going to rise up. They're going to turn against you. We don't want to do that. You need to find a way to come together as a community and bring everybody together and find a way to make everybody happy. We don't want battles in all these. We don't want avocados thrown at people. I do not want to force anybody to wear a mask. I have the worst asthma on the face of the planet. I cannot breathe for 2 seconds. This mask thing has been the worst experience of my life. I've been hit by a Menards guard for having my mask below my nose. The entire security team at Menards got fired because of that little incident between us. This has gone too far. And if you want to stand up and you want to make a difference and you want to show something to these people, show that you can find a way for us to come together, to not be like everybody else, to not follow this path of destruction, and instead find a path to success. Find a path that really, because I'm not getting a vaccine. A vaccine is not the answer for me, and a lot of people are not. So you cannot say that I have to wear a mask until I get a vaccine. You cannot tell me this is an emergency order without a path to end it. I touch a time machine, I touch a door, I touch a toilet, I touch everything people touch. I hand customer service people are behind a mask and behind a shield, but they're taking the money that I just had in my hand that I could have taken out of my mouth. There are not enough other measures that are protective in place to justify this one simple measure. If you want to go back to the drawing board and put an entire plan together that keeps people safe, I'm 100% on board with that. But when there's so many things that don't make sense along the way, to do this one thing that creates so much controversy is not the way to go. To prove that this is a city
20-second warning.
This is where people want to come for something different. And you have proven that for years, that this is that city. So I really hope when you have that conversation tonight that you do not do it to just fall in line with all the rest of everybody else, and you be the city that rises above like you always have been for a very long time now.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak? I didn't quite hear that. Anyone else like to speak?
Yes, I'd like to speak.
I'm sorry, say your first name, please.
Melissa.
Melissa. Melissa, give us your first and last name and your address, please.
My name is Melissa Allen, and my address is 4011 Creekview Road, De Pere.
I'm sorry, we didn't hear the city?
De Pere. Creekview Road, De Pere.
We didn't hear your regular address, so what was the first part? You gave some numbers, we didn't hear the words.
4011 and a half Creekview Road.
Creekview Road. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Firstly, absolutely, Alicia, De Pere is such an amazing place. It is the hope of the world, and where the sweet people are, and where people come to be together. And you just hit it on the head with where we want to be with our businesses, and where we want to be in support of just building this energy of respect and love for each other. So yes, Alicia, you nailed it. And personally, I'm a registered nurse. I work for one of the largest clinics in the area. I did get a position to oversee the emergency COVID staffing for all of Eastern Wisconsin. And I just want to bring people back to why we shut down in the first place. And that was because we didn't know where this was going to go. And we wanted to protect our hospitals to make sure that we could care for our community. And we've proved that this is not going to grow like we expected. We don't have the population for it. There are 0 deaths in our amazing city. Brown County, the death rate to the population is 0.017%. And to even slightly consider stripping away our freedom to be respected by the individuals that we voted in, that is just such a heartbreaking thought. We want to stand behind you and support you as leaders. We want to know that we can trust that we can come to you to defend our freedom, because we have proven that we are smart and that we can be safe and that we can take the right measures to protect ourselves. But mandating, it's just not the way to go. We should follow Door County's lead, make an advisory, blast it out to all of the cell phones, provide free masks, and take a stand that we're the community that loves and respects everybody. Respects our freedom to research the chaos on our own. The studies are conflicting, but the numbers aren't. Our hospitalizations, we have 10 right now at one of the hospitals and 1 to 3 at the other local hospitals. The 3.5% that was shared with the De Pere community, that's actually the percent positive of
20 seconds.
Of those that were tested. That's not the percent positive of the population. So I just really encourage you to look into your heart with this one and love your community as much as your community loves each other. And as a 9-month pregnant woman, I don't appreciate.
Okay, and I thank you. Your time is expired.
That a mask is good for me, because it's not. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak? For the second time, would anyone else like to speak? For the third and final. I'm sorry, what was that name?
Carissa Coldagelli.
Carissa, give us your full name and your full address, please.
Carissa Coldagelli, 136 Cavill Way in De Pere.
Thank you.
I just would like to have a voice in this meeting and come out strongly against this mandate in this ordinance that you are proposing tonight. I think that it is 100% government overreach. It is going to cause division. It is going to cause discrimination and fear. There are people talking about protecting others, and ignoring the whole push for my body, my choice. When did that go out the window? It is my health and it should be my choice. It is the health of my children and it should be my choice whether or not we feel comfortable wearing masks. The big thing here is this mandate will be stripping businesses of their rights and setting a precedent for future mandates and ordinances. And that is a dangerous and slippery slope. It has been very sad how much the people in support of masks have been painting those opposed as evil. I have had people come up to me and tell me that, actually they didn't even tell me, they told my 6-year-old son that he was not going to see his 18th birthday because I wasn't requiring him to wear a mask. And I also had another person tell me that my 3-year-old was going to get very, very sick and possibly die, and did not tell me that, told my child that to their face. And now I have had to deal with the repercussions of that with my children. This whole ordinance and mandate should not be something that you guys are considering to enforce. There is not enough to back this up. I agree with so many of the others and what they have said. I agree with someone who said bringing this up in the future for voting, an option to vote to end this if you guys do go forward and move forward with this mandate, that every further meeting that you guys have, you can have the option to vote this down. And I agree with Melissa Allen completely and everything that she said. Many other men and women who got on tonight to speak out against this, because this is wrong. This is a violation of our rights. This is a violation of my body and my health. And
you have 20 seconds.
I also would like to say that I have been disappointed in how the mayor has been running this meeting, and other people, I hope that you would push to have a change in the future for assembly meetings and not have the negativity that has been presented and the bias as well and the attitude that has been.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Does anyone else like to speak? For the second time, does anyone else want to speak?
Rob Deutsch.
I believe I heard Rob.
Yep.
Rob, can you give us your full name and address, please?
Yeah, this is Robert Deutsch. I live at 3010 Riviera Rue. That's in Green Bay. However, I do frequent De Pere businesses, and I do have children that attend the East De Pere School District.
Sorry, I said Rob. Robert, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yep, no, that's okay. I initially said Rob. It's all right. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for your time. I did send an email out. I understand that you all are busy. Some of you got back to me, and some of them did not. I completely understand due to time constraints. One thing that I do want to mention is that this is long-term consequences. You as government leaders are governed by the people. This is an overreach of your authority. We don't tell people that have diabetes that they have to stop acting a certain way. That's their choice. If people have pneumonia, if people have the flu, we don't tell them what to do. Otherwise, everybody else doesn't have to fall in line due to their condition. The fact of the matter is that, especially when it comes to the numbers that are being reported, is that we don't have accurate numbers. And the one number that does matter is that the hospitalizations have continually gone down. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Also, as far as the children, there hasn't been one death in the state of Wisconsin of kids that are 19 or younger. I'm concerned for my kids because they've been out of school since March. They don't have very much social interaction, and they need that. They need that outside of our own home. They need to see other people's faces. They need to see them laugh. They need to see them smile. My son had speech problems. He needs to see how other people speak so that he can learn how to speak properly and form those words. Kids don't get this virus. They don't spread it to other people. schools should not have this mask mandate. It should not apply to schools. They're finding out more research that the kids don't spread this out. I really think that this causes more division than anything else. It creates fear into people. And like my wife said, she's been, she had an avocado thrown at her at the grocery store simply because she wasn't wearing a mask. I'm a police officer. I want nothing to do with this, to have to enforce this with anybody.
20 seconds, Robert.
We don't need to waste our police resources on something like this, nor does an unaccountable public health official need to be enforcing anything like this as well. That's all I've got for today.
Thank you very much, Robert. Anyone else like to speak? For the second
Martha?
time. I'm
Hello?
sorry, what was that?
Yep, Marta Michelik.
Marcia?
Marta.
Marta, give us your full name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Marta Michelik. My address is 214 Laurie Way in De Pere. My position strictly is that I think we need to follow the guidance of our health organizations like the CDC, the WHO, at the Brown County Health Department, that says masks are a measure that will protect our public. I mean, this isn't a political issue, this is a public health issue. And our government has a right to step in to help our citizens make decisions, even though they may disagree with them, to protect their health. I know that comments have been made about the government overstepping their reach, but frankly, the government dictates a lot of aspects in our life. If we go to a restaurant, we are dictated by whether or not we get safe and sanitary food conditions. Our water is clean because of the government. We have a school system because of the government. And if you simply dictate that the government is overreaching because we ask you to wear a mask, then I think that you're frankly not thinking the big picture at all. The big picture is our public health. And the big picture is not whether or not the government is going to take over and control your lives permanently. This is a temporary condition. It will pass. I have hope and faith that the health systems will do their jobs, and we have to play a part of that. And frankly, Americans need to step up and play their part. It is not an individual decision. It is a collective decision that needs to be made to protect our public. And if you can't do that, I feel sorry for you. I support the mask ordinance, and I hope that it passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marta. Anyone else like to speak? For the second time, anyone else like to speak? For the third and final time, anyone else like to speak? I would entertain a motion to go back.
Mr. Boyd?
Motion to go back to regular order.
There's a motion to go back to regular order. Do we have a second?
I would like to speak.
Okay, I'll go with one more. Sorry, Alderperson Rash. One more speaker.
We have a motion on the floor. We're waiting for a second.
We do, Alderperson Rash. You are correct. Is there a second to the motion?
Alderperson Rue, I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Alderperson Rash, seconded by Alderperson Rue, to go back to regular session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I would like to clarify before I put in my vote. Could we simply let that miscommunication finish with that last individual who would like to speak? This is Amy, by the way, and then proceed with the motion so that there isn't anyone being cut off. That can simply be the end.
Thank you, Alderperson Cuniger. Alderperson Rash and Alderperson Rue, would you be okay with that?
That's fine with me. Alderperson.
I would be, and just for clarification, the only reason I made the comment that there's a motion on the floor is we have to go through that process first before we can get to a discussion period for council members to ask the question that Alderperson Cleninger had asked.
Can I have help on that one?
I'll rescind my motion.
Sure, 1 second, Alderperson Rash, I'm sorry. Oh, you're rescinding it? Is that what you're doing?
Is that what we're asking for, or are we asking for a delay? Because if we got a motion in a second, we're really kind of in a gray area. So I appreciate the assistant city attorney's stance or view on this recommendation.
Yeah, why don't you just, sorry, Dean, Alderperson Rash, why don't you just rescind it?
Okay, so done. It's rescinded.
Yep, and does the seconder okay with the rescinding of that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Caller, give us your name and address. This will be the last caller because I did make the third warning. So last caller, give us your name and address.
Yeah, this is Eric Voss calling. I live in Ledgeview, but work in De Pere and have family in De Pere, so I'm around very often. Mr. Boyd, you were a teacher of mine at De Pere. So.
Oh, I'm sorry, Eric, I'm sorry. We need your address, please.
Oh, 3681 Half Crown Run.
Half Crown Road. Okay, thank you very much. And again, you are the last caller, so the callers out there know that. Please go ahead.
All right, I just wanted to say, I do have my own personal opinion on this topic, but for this matter, I want to leave that out of it. I just want to say that, we were all given a chance to speak at this, and I think Mr. Boyd and the rest of the team there, you have a real opportunity to really be an actual leader. And I think these days, a lot of these types of issues are very politicized, which they don't need to be. And I think you got a lot of really good insight from a lot of caring people tonight on this call. So whenever there's a complex issue, there's often not a simple answer. And I think this falls into that bucket. So I think a lot of the feedback you got was people who care passionately that people wear masks. And there's also people who feel afraid of government overreach and what precedent it could set. I think you really have an opportunity to be a leader, like I said, and take all those considerations into effect when you put forth a mandate. Sunset, to use whoever's term, on this policy, I think makes a lot of sense. So you guys, you're not held up against a gun to make any decision right now, and I think you'd be able to put something together that would really please more of the masses than what you have right now. So that's really all I got to say. I understand it's a difficult spot to be in, but I think you have an opportunity to show real leadership. So thanks. Thanks for giving me the time back to talk, though, by the way.
You are welcome. I believe Alderperson Rash, or I just need a motion to go back to regular session.
Yeah, this is Alderperson Rash. I'll make that motion again.
Alderperson Rue, second.
Motion by Alderperson Rash, seconded by Alderperson Rue to go back to regular session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We are back in regular session. So the audience, you are out of this mix right now. So please put your phones and devices to mute. This goes back to the alderpersons and the Common Council. So again, we have a motion. Do we have a motion on the floor after all this? We do, right? We have a motion. We do. Okay. All right. So discussion, questions, comments.
This is Amy. I would like the questions that had been asked throughout the